scores are settled. It's personal. It's Backlash.
Tonight, after the biggest weekend in WWE, what happens at WrestleMania doesn't stay there.
Sweet, sweet revenge.
It follows you. And in Tampa, it hits back.
Old scores are settled. It's personal. It's Backlash.
Tonight, after the biggest weekend in WWE, what happens at WrestleMania doesn't stay there.
Sweet, sweet revenge.
It follows you. And in Tampa, it hits back.
Old scores are settled. It's personal. It's Backlash.
Tonight, after the biggest weekend in WWE, what happens at WrestleMania doesn't stay there.
Sweet, sweet revenge.
It follows you. And in Tampa, it hits back.
Old scores are settled. It's personal. It's Backlash.
Then, now, forever. Together.
This is the vibrant Gulf Coast city known as Tampa, Florida. It's summertime here already with brilliant sunshine and temperatures near 90 degrees. The epicenter of the WWE Universe tonight is the Benchmark International Arena, home to the NHL's Tampa Bay Lightning, and tonight, home to the premium live event known as Backlash. Over 13,000 WWE fans expected tonight in the sold-out arena as we welcome you to the Countdown to Backlash show presented by Cricket 5G. The original Tribal Chief, the World Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns, is here tonight, involved in this family civil war with his cousin, Jacob Fatu. The United States Champion, Trick Williams, accompanied by his buddy, Lil Yachty, defends the title tonight in a WrestleMania rematch against the former champion, Sami Zayn. WWE's Chief Content Officer, Paul Triple H Levesque, is here, set to preside over the first WWE Premium Live event since WrestleMania. Io Sky is hoping to finally close a chapter in her life that has been haunting her for years. The Genius of the Sky takes on former mentor Asuka. Very nice, very evil. Danhausen heads into his first match at a WWE Premium Live event, but who will his partner be? The Miz versus Kit Wilson. Actually, The Miz and Kit Wilson versus Danhausen and that partner later tonight. And the aforementioned Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, says he needs to win the World Heavyweight Championship tonight, taken away from his cousin Roman Reigns. It all takes place live in Tampa tonight at Backlash.
On this part-time crowd, we're gonna fix that. Y'all better make some room, because y'all gonna see my ass all summer.
I don't want that title. I need that title.
You don't deserve it. You haven't earned it. Me allowing you to compete against me, I can't do that.
Breakker.
You are the reason that I didn't get my hand raised at WrestleMania this year.
The showdown is set.
Let go.
Now watch me go.
I'll see you at Backlash.
Io Sky versus
Trick Williams. Rocking these lemon pepper steppers.
I cannot wait for this.
Sooner or later, it's going to be an explosion.
It's time to grit your teeth and get ready for impact.
Welcome to WWE
Backlash!
And welcome everyone to Countdown to Backlash presented by Cricket. We are live outside the Benchmark International Arena. Hundreds of WWE fans have showed up early as we whet your appetite for WWE Backlash. Hello, Tampa! Are you guys ready for tonight? Hello again, everybody. I'm Michael Cole. Thanks for joining us here live in Tampa today. What a panel we have for you on the Countdown Show, including former Mr. Money in the Bank, former WWE Champion, none other than Big E.
Boy, does it feel good to be back in my city! Tampa, make some noise! Let's go!
Also here, an alum from Florida Championship Wrestling, a former NXT Tag Team Champion, my partner in crime on Monday Night Raw, none other than Corey Graves.
It is red hot outside here in Tampa, but I promise you the temperature's gonna rise even more once Backlash kicks off. This is gonna be a night to remember for a litany of reasons.
And also here tonight, the host of Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg, ESPN New York, none other than Peter Rosenberg.
Former 24/7 champion as well, Cole. Thank you for leaving that out, and thank you, Graves. Guys, this is what I dream of in WWE, when you get to see someone's childhood dreams on the line. Everything there for the taking. That's what Jacob Fatu has tonight in our main event with Roman Reigns.
We're going to talk all about that throughout the next couple of hours here on the Countdown Show, but we've got reporters everywhere in Tampa, and we're going to kick things off with our own Kathy Kelly, who's standing by.
Yeah, sources close to Roman Reigns say that he is as locked in as ever. The world heavyweight champion knows exactly what is at stake tonight, not just for himself, but for his entire extended family. And speaking of his extended family, that is because he takes on his cousin, part of his extended family, who has introduced the devastating move of the Tongan Death Grip, a move that Roman Reigns has said should only be used in the most desperate of times. Well, in the case of the World Heavyweight Championship, Jacob Fatu knows that desperate times call for desperate measures. Byron?
Thanks, Kathy. I can tell you right now, Jacob Fatu is yet to arrive here at the Benchmark Arena, but tonight is comfortable territory for Jacob. It's comfortable because, granted, Jacob, this is his first time main eventing a PLE, first time challenging for the World Heavyweight title. But it's comfortable because Jacob Fatu is desperate to win. And desperation has fueled this man's background, often checkered background, often multiple run-ins with the law. But because of that desperation background, it makes you think what could happen tonight and how uncomfortable of a viewing experience the World Heavyweight title match could be, courtesy of the Samoan Werewolf. Jackie Redmond, I send things over to you.
Well, Byron, when it comes to Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, Seth told me this morning tonight isn't just about showing Braun Breaker that he's not ready to take things to the next level. It's also about Seth proving to himself and everybody else that at 39 years old and coming off another serious injury, that he still has what it takes to compete at the highest level in WWE. For lack of a better phrase, he said he's basically out to show the WWE universe that he is still best for business. He's still the visionary. He is still the architect. He also noted that while experience doesn't always matter, tonight he says it does, because there is absolutely nothing that Braun Breaker can throw at Seth Rollins that he hasn't already seen before. And Seth says that is one of many reasons why Braun Breaker is in over his head, Cole.
Thanks a lot, Jackie. And Big E, let me ask you this. Is Braun Breaker in over his head?
No, I think this is a very focused Braun Breaker. I think that timeout He got to see some young superstars like Obafemi, Javon Evans, Trick Williams. A lot of people really started building that momentum. I think Braun came back with a point to prove. We see someone who is as explosive as he's ever been. I think he's focused. I think this is his biggest match of his career thus far.
We're going to discuss this at length in just a moment, but I had the opportunity earlier this week to sit down with Seth Rollins. Here is the first part of this two-part interview.
Seth, let's start with how you're feeling and how it felt to be finally back in the ring at WrestleMania.
Oh man, that's a loaded question. You know, being in the ring with someone like Gunther is an experience unto itself. First match back after 6 months on the shelf. So the physical side of things was a bit of a trial. You know, I don't recover like I used to. You know, when I was in my 20s, I feel like I could just reset every day. It didn't matter what, you know, came before. Now it's just a different animal. And this recovery from this surgery was the hardest, I think the hardest recovery I've had. I think I'm just getting better every day. I was really happy to get through WrestleMania and not have what I felt was a regression. All things told, I thought it was a really good experience. Obviously didn't get the outcome I wanted, but it was a really incredible feeling to be able to get back out there after 6 months and do the damn thing.
I want to take us back to WrestleMania of last year, the day after, and the formation of the Vision. Why did Seth Rollins feel he had to form the Vision?
Maybe a little bit of insecurity. You know, I looked at the landscape and I was starting to kind of pile up enemies. At that stage, there were a lot of, pardon the pun, visions for what the future of the company could or would or should look like. And to be honest with you, I just don't trust Roman Reigns. I certainly don't trust CM Punk. I don't trust either of them to be kind of the figureheads and the leaders. And so I felt like I was the best person suited for that job. And also, I wanted to not just do this thing for me, but to pass it along to the next generation. And for me, Braun Breaker was the perfect fit for that.
So, with that said,
yes,
why Breaker? Why did Braun Breaker stick out to you to be a part of this group?
I mentioned it on Raw a couple weeks back. You know, when I won the World Heavyweight Championship, got this new title, I want to make this title, I want to defend this title as often as I can. One of the calls I made was to NXT, to Shawn Michaels. I said, I want to go down. I want your best. Who's your best? First words out of Shawn Michaels' mouth, Braun Breaker. I saw firsthand what he was capable of as far as his preparation, his execution, his intensity. He had all the tools, but he's a young guy. And I felt like if I could take him for a year or two, I'd be able to give him all of the information that I know, and we could really prepare him to take the next step and be one of the big money draws for the future of this company.
So the Vision, over the better part of 6 months, dominates WWE. And then it all falls apart. Braun Breaker decides it's time to excommunicate Seth Rollins from the Vision. When that happened, what was running through your mind?
I felt disappointment and sadness and a lot of guilt that I was letting my fans down, that I was letting the company down. But beneath that, I also felt a lot of anger. The damage done from Breaker and Reed that night is what put me on the shelf, what put me on the operating table. And it was interesting because I understood it. I understood what Breaker was doing, but even through that understanding of why he did what he did, I couldn't shake that, just that visceral anger from taking away something that, look, I'm turning 40 this month. I don't know how many of these opportunities I'm gonna have left. It felt like I was robbed of something that I had earned, and I can't let that go.
So, Corey, let's take a trip down memory lane and show you what happened. It was the night after WrestleMania last year where the Vision was actually formed. Braun Breaker would join the group on April 21st, and then the addition of Big Bronson Reed, the Auxilla, in May of last year.
What a trio the Oracle Paul Heyman had on his hands. There we see June 7th, the Vision helped Rollins win Money in the Bank yet again. We all remember Rollins shocking the entire world when he cashed in to capture the gold yet again. And then this is where everything began to turn south. Braun Breaker had had enough of Seth Rollins, which led to a series of attacks from masked men throughout the fall, the beginning of the year.
Yes, Seth Rollins would reveal himself to be the masked man back at Elimination Chamber. And then at WrestleMania, Gunther would beat Rollins thanks to interference by Braun Breaker. And tonight, finally, Rollins gets his hands on Braun Breaker. I want to start things off with Peter, and I want to talk about Seth Rollins a little bit. He admitted in that sit-down interview that he's approaching 40 years old. He doesn't know how much longer he can go at this pace. How important is this match tonight for Seth Rollins to prove to himself that he can still do it?
I think that's the biggest thing, Cole. I think all of us know that Seth Rollins healthy is one of the best to ever do it. But as he alluded to in that conversation with you, these opportunities don't come over and over again as you get older. And we know, the two guys to my right respectfully know just how dangerous it is to compete in that ring. It can end on any given night. And as Seth said, he's had his share of injuries. Has to be a real thought.
If you do a tale of the tape of these two, Corey, you look in Seth Rollins' column. Experience. That's it. Braun Breaker has everything else in his column. Power, strength, speed, stamina.
Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. To me, that was my takeaway from your interview with Seth Rollins. Rollins knows what a threat Braun Breaker is, not only to any champion, but the entire industry. Braun Breaker is going to be the future of WWE. To me, it seems like reality is starting to set in for Seth Rollins. Yes, Seth is getting up there in age. He's by no means old. There's still plenty of tread left on the tires.
But a lot of injuries.
Certainly, and those injuries add up. To me, it sounds like Seth is a man who may fear that his grip on this industry that he's held so tightly is starting to slip through his fingers.
But Michael, you said it, you look at the Seth column and just said experience. And it's more than just experience. The man has not just been around. He is a multi-time world champion. He has done it all. First ballot Hall of Famer, all of that. Seth Rollins is someone who is bringing a lot of that experience, but we're talking about high-level experience to this match with Braun Breaker.
And listen, I think the longer this match goes tonight, the more it favors Braun Breaker. I think Seth has to try to put him away early and not allow Braun to get confidence built up as this match goes along. Because remember, Seth's been in his head. He's told Braun for weeks now, you're not ready for this, that you are not ready to be at the main event.
I think Braun Breaker is the evolution of what a WWE superstar can be, and I don't know that traditional mind games, those that Seth Rollins excels at, I don't know if they have the same effect on a mutant athlete like Braun Breaker.
And not only that, not only is he the freak athlete, don't forget, he's a multi-generation talent. We know that those guys who come from the business seem to have a certain extra thing, an understanding. He has the athleticism, and he has that in his DNA.
But also his mindset, knowing him as well, he is someone who is a sponge. He's always trying to learn more as well. But I see a Braun Breaker who is as focused as he has ever been. I think he has something to prove here tonight. A lot of people are kind of jockeying for who's going to be the next one up to be the face of WWE. Braun is trying to say, tonight, I'm that guy.
I think Braun Breaker is the rare case of somebody whose physical abilities can overcompensate for what he lacks in experience.
Seth Rollins also told me he has to look out for Logan Paul and Austin Theory tonight. He knows he made this bed. He's got to lie in it. Ladies and gentlemen, it will actually kick off Backlash as we move over to ESPN2 at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific today. Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker battling it out for supremacy in WWE. Well, WWE fans are enjoying an afternoon, getting ready for Backlash here tonight, live in Tampa. You know, speaking of Seth Rollins, how does the Shield figure into this story? I asked Seth Rollins that question. He talks about it as this interview continues later on tonight. Also, Roman Reigns takes on Jacob Fatu. Where will this match rank in Roman Reigns' history as great matches still to come tonight?
This summer, the world arrives. Guarantee your place at the FIFA World Cup when it comes to North America. Elevate every minute of match day and experience the very best of the beautiful game with a ticket-inclusive hospitality package. The countdown to kickoff is on.
Hey folks, we're on the Gulf of Mexico tonight, the west coast of Florida. This is Tampa. A beautiful day today as we get ready for the WWE Premium Live event known as Backlash. Here at the Benchmark International Arena, the doors have opened, fans are filing in. We're sold out tonight, over 13,000 expected. In our main event at Backlash, in a family civil war, is the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns defends the World Heavyweight title against his cousin Jacob Fatu. In a match Jacob says he must win. One of the things Jacob has pointed out during this build is how difficult his path was to get here to WWE. His early life was spent in prison. He would finally get out of jail and he would toil in the indies, in promotions, to make his way to finally get to WWE. But Corey, it took a long time.
Well, if you pay attention to the year 2012, as Jacob was beginning his journey on the independents, that was the same year Roman Reigns debuted in WWE alongside The Shield. Obviously, the Samoan Werewolf has tasted success since his arrival, but it can be argued that Roman Reigns has had a significant head start on greatness. Will that play a factor tonight? Only time will tell. Reigns, Fatu for the World Heavyweight Championship tonight in Tampa.
Yeah, you know what today is? Don't get backtracked, because today is Backlash, and today is when I beat Roman's ass. Hey, I told y'all, I didn't want that title, but I need that title. I'm fresh off the scale with it, all raw, uncut with it. Y'all know what I mean? Hey, tapped in, locked in, dialed in. Today, Backlash gonna know Jacob Fatu is on gas, no brakes with it. Y'all know what I mean? Fatu!
And tonight marks the biggest moment of Jacob Fatu's career as we take a look at the resumes of the challenger, Jacob Fatu, and the World Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns. Corey, you might notice the lei that Jacob Fatu was wearing around his neck as he was making his way through the backstage area here tonight in Tampa, Florida. That lei was actually made by the daughter of Haku. Haku is actually the uncle of Jacob Fatu. And Haku is the one who taught the Tongan death grip to his cousin Jacob, which is sacred, and it's a no-no to use it against your family.
The Tongan death grip is not a move that you learn at wrestling school. It's not something you can look up on YouTube and figure out how to apply properly. It's passed down through generations as a last resort.
And what it does is it takes you right there, the Adam's apple, and it makes you pass out as you cut out the breath to your opponents. That is what Jacob Fatu hopes to do to Roman Reigns tonight. Let's talk about Jacob Fatu. Big E, is Jacob ready for this moment?
I see someone who is elevating his game. I think coming off that performance at WrestleMania, I think we're seeing a Jacob Fatu who realizes he's talked about wanting the private planes. He wants the money. He wants the life that Roman has. And if he beats Roman Reigns here tonight, the landscape of his career changes forever. Tonight is the most important night in Jacob Fatu's career.
What if he doesn't beat Roman Reigns?
Look, there's so much made of the what ifs. I keep hearing the word desperation thrown around. Jacob Fatu's not desperate. This is a calculated move by a man who has been waiting for the right time, the right place, and the right view to take his shot, to take down the Tribal Chief. Jacob Fatu understands that if he wants to change his own career and the life of his whole family, he has to do it one way, and that way happens tonight.
And Peter, what bothers Jacob in all this is when Roman Reigns was having that 4-year run as champion and he was surrounded by his family, the bloodline, he never once brought Jacob Fatu into the fold, and that has bugged Jacob Fatu. So when he claims, when Roman goes around talking about family, it has nothing to do with his cousin.
Well, that's the thing. This is also real to him, Cole. Don't forget, these guys go back a long way. Jacob Fatu told me this week in an interview, Him, Roman, the Usos, they were all installing office equipment years ago, working for Roman's sister. They really, really have a lot of time as family, but when push came to shove and Roman was the top guy, that phone didn't ring. It was Solo Sikoa who reached out to Jacob Fatu and gave him that chance.
And what do you think that did to the mentality of Jacob Fatu? A man who calls himself the Samoan Werewolf had years upon years upon years to watch those he came up with, those he grew up, his blood succeeding on the highest level, and he is not even an afterthought.
But here's also a guy who's hungry. Let's not forget, at 18 years old, he went to prison. When he got out of jail, he couldn't get a job. He was literally sleeping on the floor, on a mattress, with his wife and 7 kids surrounding him. That's why it is so important for him to win tonight.
And that's why you cannot bet against Jacob Fatu tonight. I know the 3 of us have kids. Someday you will know the joy. You will go to the ends of the earth for your children. You will stop at nothing if it means giving them a better life. If it means improving your own quality of life, making sure your kids get into the best schools, making sure your kids get to go on vacation like their friends do. That's where Jacob Fatu's at. He's not just fighting for gold tonight. He's fighting for his own legacy within his household, and men will stop at nothing to accomplish that.
But I also think it's very important for Roman to demonstrate that he is still the head of the table. He is still at the very top of this pyramid, and everyone eats when he says they eat. I think Roman is going to prove that he's not ready to pass the torch to a cousin or any other family member. He is still the head of the table.
It is the main event tonight at Backlash. Roman Reigns defending the World Heavyweight Championship against his cousin, Jacob Fatu. Can the OTC hold on to the gold that he won last month at WrestleMania? A reminder, Backlash at 6 Eastern, the first hour on ESPN2. Also on ESPN2 tonight, the United States champion, Trick Williams, still mourning the death of the gingerbread man, but there's Little Yachty who had a lot to say about that last night on SmackDown. He'll defend the title against a delusional Sami Zayn, a man who believes everything should revolve around him. It's a WrestleMania rematch for the United States title. Trick Williams, Sami Zayn, tonight at Backlash. And now Sami's got Williams exactly where he wants him. Trick shot! Trick shot!
Trick Williams is officially anointed with the gold.
That's right, Trick Williams is the opportunity.
Right. If you're the anointed one, then I'm the prophecy.
And if you want the United States champion, then you find Trick Williams.
Whoa! Gingy, what are you doing?
Oh, Sami.
The gingerbread man represents Trick Williams a lot more than it does me. This is a shell of a man, and that's exactly what Trick Williams is.
Tell me the news, Doc.
It's the funeral for the gingerbread man.
Can we get a moment of silence for my friend, the gingerbread man?
Enough! Are you kidding me? You're trying to make a joke out of me? Al, this is personal. I'm gonna make a joke out of you.
This is a game? You think this is a game? This is my life! This is my life!
The resurrection!
Lil Yachty!
Sami, at Backlash, I'm gonna whoop that Trick.
Guys, I am here with Sami Zayn, and I imagine today is bittersweet for you. Not only an opportunity to recapture that United States Championship in the midst of all of this grief, but last night, excuse the pun, you were tricked by Trick Williams and Little Yachty during the...
Well, so let me just stop you right there, Kathy. The very nature of this question is kind of part of the problem. The way, I mean, pardon the pun, but you still make the pun. I know you meant, no, I know. You meant nothing by it. We know each other a long time. You're sweet. We get along. All that's fine. But I'm saying Trick, what he's done successfully over the last couple months is he's cultivated this environment whereby people think it's acceptable to disrespect me. I know you didn't mean anything by it, it's fine, but I'm saying the very fact that you can joke like this with me, that he can make jokes, that everybody thinks that they can suddenly disrespect me, even a portion of the audience is looking at me in a bit of a different light now. And it's because of an environment that he's cultivated, okay? And I know you must think I'm in a bad mood. I'm not. The truth is I woke up today feeling great because tonight I get to put an end to this once and for all. Tonight, I am going to not only beat Trick Williams, I'm going to embarrass him, I'm going to humiliate him, I am going to disrespect him as he has disrespected me. And Little Yachty, don't think I forgot about you because there is a receipt coming your way. Tonight, Kathy, I walk out for the 3rd time as the United States champion, and then I move on. Then I move on, all right?
Feeling great. I'm not exactly sure what stage of grief that is. Cole, guys, thoughts?
Well, Sami Zayn and Trick Williams will battle for the United States Championship as part of our coverage in the first hour of Backlash on ESPN2. Peter, Sami Zayn reminds me of a grizzled veteran who understands that he doesn't have much time left to accomplish the one goal he has in his career, and that is to win a World Heavyweight Championship. And he seems to just be obsessed with that, and it's all he's thinking about.
I think that's true, and that's why all the more reason, Cole, why he's offended by the very premise. Let's not forget, this all started, the whole gingerbread man thing started as Trick Williams' way of insulting Sami Zayn. That's what this is all about. And Sami Zayn, to your point, fancies himself as a future world champion. He doesn't think this is fun and games, Graves.
But Sami understands that being United States champion automatically puts him closer to the top of the mountain. It doesn't necessarily put him in line for a world championship match, but he's in consideration when you hold that type of goal, that sort of gravity. I think Sami Zayn has finally figured out that he looked past Trick Williams. I think Sami looked at Trick at WrestleMania and said, here's this kid with a ton of hype coming up from NXT. I've forgotten more about this business than Trick knows. And Sami was made to look like a fool on the grandest stage of them all. But in the weeks that have followed, the incessant insults, the disrespect from the crowd, the cookie man, this is too much. I think tonight Sami rights the ship on his own career and leaves Tampa with the United States champion.
Gingerbread cookie. It's all the same.
It's a cookie. It's a
kind of cookie, sure, but it's a gingerbread.
It's ridiculous is my point.
I can't even believe we're discussing it.
Right. But I also think Sami is also struggling with this idea of being beloved, of being someone that has been on our TV screens.
The ride or die fans, right?
Absolutely. And I feel like he's losing a grip of that. And because he's up against this meteoric star in Trick Williams, who people are so behind, who is so absurdly charismatic. And I think he's also having a tough time realizing that in many ways, the fans are firmly behind Trick. And I think that's what he's struggling with as well.
So, Corey, my question about that is, Trick Williams winning the United States Championship last month, is he ready for this moment? Will he retain? Is he ready to this level of superstardom that he has?
I absolutely believe Trick is ready for what he's stepping into tonight. I think Trick Williams is a megastar. I think the WWE Universe is dead on. They agree. They've accepted him. And I think Trick has an extremely bright future. But what Trick doesn't have is the experience of Sami Zayn. And we've seen in the past, when the fans turn their backs on Sami, Sami understands and Sami knows when to turn his own back on them if it means success. We saw it. It's been a while since we've seen it, but Sami has done it.
Let's also give a little bit of props to Lil Yachty.
My guy, by the way.
Yeah, your guy. You're a big fan. He has shown up. He's not just been some celebrity who shows up. He's here every single week. He's putting in the work. No entourage. Shows up to the building with Trick early, ready to do the work. And also, as we saw last night, willing to get his hands dirty and get into it with Sami Zayn if he has to.
How Little Yachty arrives, how come they spend so much money on you showing up with your entourage and your rental cars? And all? It's egregious.
That's a great question, but we're going to hear more from Trick Williams a little bit later on in the Backlash Countdown show, because he sits down with Joe Tessitore to talk about his career thus far. A very enlightening conversation. And we are here tonight in Tampa, the old training ground before NXT. There was FCW.
Florida Championship Wrestling, the future of the entertainment business.
This is where the faces 5 years from now on the television, the main event guys, this is where they'll come from.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you want to talk about FCW? How about Yee! Usos are here.
As Backlash arrived in Tampa, WWE partnered with ESPN and the Tampa Bay Sports Commission to give back to the local community. WWE superstars visited the Boys and Girls Club to spend time with the kids and share smiles. WWE is proud to partner with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America and ESPN to help create lasting memories for the kids in the community.
Hey, we're in the thriving wrestling community of Tampa, Florida. Tonight for WWE Backlash, the first premium live event since WrestleMania. Tampa, Florida, also the home to the former Florida Championship Wrestling. And here is FCW alum Corey Graves.
While Tampa, Florida is sure to conjure images of abundant sunshine and warm Gulf waters, the roots of pro wrestling run deep here in Hillsborough County. From the Fort Hesterly Armory to the Tampa Sportatorium, from the American Dream Dusty Rhodes to the immortal Hulk Hogan. It should come as no surprise that just a few years back, only 5 miles away from Benchmark International Arena, some of the biggest superstars of today were being forged.
Welcome to the FCW Arena in Tampa, Florida.
Florida, Championship Wrestling, the future of the entertainment business.
In 2007, the future of WWE was seated in an unsuspecting warehouse in Tampa. Florida Championship Wrestling. A gritty, local outpost designed to replace the old developmental systems of the Deep South and the Midwest.
This is where the faces 5 years from now on the television, the main event guys, this is where they'll come from.
First time I walked into the FCW arena doors, I just couldn't believe that I was there, and I felt super intimidated.
Like, I didn't know what a headlock was. I didn't know what a tap, like, I knew nothing.
To come to FCW, I really had to rely on the coaches and their experience.
It really felt like we were on an island. Just a bunch of young kids trying to make it in this hot environment. And I feel like there's a beauty in that grittiness.
Look at the marquee today, and you'll see the fingerprints of FCW up and down the card.
You had a lot of raw talent go in there, but out the other side came a lot of great, accomplished wrestlers.
I am the future of this company.
From Charlotte Flair to Roman Reigns, the biggest stars today didn't just pass through these doors. They were built here, piece by piece.
That's FCW's legacy. Look how many people are on top in WWE that went through the system.
We don't call it the minor leagues, but we call it the future stars of WWE. So there's so much excitement going on down here.
Dusty Rhodes, he was the guy that guided everybody who came out of there.
Under the watchful eye of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, talent learned the art of the promo.
I'm a winner. That's who I am.
We're gonna get it cracking whether you like it or not, chump.
And everybody here is a witness that I own it.
It was a breeding ground for the strange.
I guess I've created some kind of buzz here, man.
The heroic.
We have the power to change the industry.
And the absurd.
You're talking to me? You must be talking to me.
What started out as a small-scale system to create a handful of stars soon caught the eye of Triple H, who saw a wealth of talent and the potential to grow into something greater. By 2013, all developmental activities were relocated to a state-of-the-art performance center in Orlando. And with Triple H at the helm, FCW evolved into NXT.
FCW plays a major role in where NXT is today.
What FCW did for the industry as a whole, we'll be able to pass on to the next generation.
The superstars of tomorrow continue to be molded out of WWE's Performance Center, as the legacy of FCW continues to influence the wrestling landscape to this very day.
We are the future, and the future is now.
And ladies and gentlemen, despite the fact that they were managed by Byron Saxton, Jimmy and Jay would go on to become one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Welcome, guys. And let's start with you, Jay. How important was FCW to your career?
Man, I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps watching that video, Cole. That brought me back, man. I'm humble, man. Hey, Dale Mayberry right down the street. Shout out to Hillsborough County, too.
You know, little known fact, Graves, you actually know this. I was trained at FCW for my big match at WrestleMania. Former world champion Jinder Mahal was actually my sparring partner in that. But seriously, you guys were a part of it. That was a unique costume you had back in the day.
We were all trying things, and that was the beauty of FCW. That was a place where you tried different things. Look, I like to tell this story from time to time, but I remember back in the day, I remember when Jay, we were struggling. We were living paycheck to paycheck. I remember, in fact, I think you and Percy Watson, I remember one time you had a match.
Percy!
Had to take your drawers off. Percy put them on. We were so poor, we couldn't even have our own gear.
Yeah, I wore somebody else's underwear. That's how poor I was.
So, Jimmy, whose underwear did you wear?
Oh, brother, you know me, Big Jim. They call me Big Jim for a reason, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna throw a few words out there. They're gonna mean a lot to you guys. Man in the middle. Dr. Tom Pritchard, his training regimen ran us all into the ground week after week after week. But I credit that with all of us growing to where we achieved in our careers.
Yeah, right. I bet NXT don't know nothing about man in the middle.
Right. But even, I think we all just formed a real bond in FCW as well. It was a small locker room, about 40 of us. And I think in many ways it's so different from now because we felt disconnected from the main roster as well.
So the point I wanted to ask you guys was, how is that different than what NXT is today?
I always use the analogy, you've seen the movie Toy Story. And there's the big machine with all the little green aliens, and all of a sudden the Claw shows up and takes one of them, and everybody goes, oh, good. That's how FCW felt. We were all there, and then all of a sudden somebody would disappear and show up on television without rhyme or reason. Fast forward a few years, now you've got NXT. Now there's synergy. Now it feels like you're a part of WWE, and it's a feeder system. You've got people like Triple H. You've got Dusty Rhodes, obviously. A lot of people from the office coming to pay attention to what was happening. Whereas we were on this island unto ourselves. To Big E's point, we just had to figure it out and hope for the best. Now you've got a true pipeline for the future stars of tomorrow.
And again, one of the greatest, I think, the greatest tag team of all time,
Amen.
Jimmy and Jey Uso. Quick question about tonight, Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu, a family civil war. Jacob told you guys last night, if you get involved in the main event tonight, he is going to burn the family down.
That's crazy he said that too, Carl.
Let's have a fire hose, fire department close by, standby, if you know what I'm saying, Cole. Tonight, we're super excited, man. Like I was telling my brother earlier, I think this is an opponent that we ain't never seen Roman go against. You know, we family fight family, but we all know Jacob a different breed here. So we on standby, very close by.
Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest tag team of all time, Jimmy and Jey, the Usos. Well, ladies and gentlemen, still to come tonight at WWE Backlash, the genius of the Sky, Io Sky, will try to put what's been a roller coaster of emotions for many years behind her because she goes one-on-one with the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka. This is a rivalry, years in the making. It's Asuka versus Io Sky at Backlash.
Io, we were once a family, but you tried to take everything away from me.
I know you will always have my back, but I really need to do this on my own.
Io Sky left helpless. Here comes Mommy!
お前は自分勝手にこの絆をぶっ壊して家族をバラバラにしたよな。
Stay out of our business.
血がなんか間違ったことしてもうたからお前はわしに背を向けたんと思っとった。せやけどな、やっとこさ気づいたわ。問題はお前やったいうことで。
Io Sky is torn.
This year is my biggest disappointment. 許されへんな。
We are not family anymore. You broke my heart. あなたは自分だけの利益しか考えてない。あなたみたいになりたいと思ってた。でも今はあなたのジェラシーとグレーが全てを変えた。
I'm done with Io Sky.
わしはずっとお前の先輩や。
At Backlash, I'm gonna cut you out of my life. For good.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was all born in Japan as we take another look at the tail of the tape, the resume for the great Asuka, and of course Io Sky, who I have said on a number of occasions I believe is the best professional wrestler on the planet today. I want to talk a little bit about the Senpai Kohai system in Japan, the Senpai, the senior. The Kohai is the junior. Asuka claims that she never treated Io Sky that way, that they were always equals, and that it was Io Sky who at the end of the day turned her back on Asuka.
Yeah, but we've been watching that, and I don't think that's how a lot of the WWE Universe sees things. And frankly, tonight, regardless of all this history, Graves, Io Sky, when she gets into that ring, is going to have Over 13,000 people on her side.
I have no doubt about that. And Io Sky is, to Michael Cole's point, one of the best professional wrestlers in the world today, but she's also stepping in the ring with perhaps the most dominant female superstar of the last decade in Asuka, the Empress of Tomorrow. The name Asuka used to strike fear into the locker room from top to bottom. Maybe Asuka has taken her foot off the gas a little bit. Maybe Asuka isn't as laser focused as she once was. But I think this rivalry with Io has reminded Asuka of just what she is capable of. And it's her responsibility as senpai to show her Kohai that she is still superior and that will never change.
But she's also, Big E, in Asuka's words, getting rid of all the dead weight, and Io Sky is next on the list.
Look, I don't see an Asuka that is diminished. I don't see an Asuka that has taken a step back at all. In many ways, I'm sure Asuka's mindset is, I am a pioneer. The reason you, Io, have an opportunity here in WWE is because of me breaking down the door many years ago to show what I could do in America after being a legend in Japan. I think that Asuka is still that woman. She is still incredible. We have seen her in more backstage. We have seen her in more tag teams. But make no mistake, this is not an Asuka who has lost a step at all.
This is not, the Kohai Senpai relationship isn't exclusive to wrestling. This is cultural, and maybe this is something that's been lost in translation a little bit here in the United States. We don't understand the magnitude of what this relationship is. That type of respect, that level of respect, it's borderline sacred in Japanese culture. You do not disrespect your senpai, no matter what.
When you add that sort of history, though, and you think about the level of talent, you and I were talking about this before we went on the air. This match has every possibility to steal the show tonight.
No doubt.
No, I would expect bell to bell. This is the match I'm most excited about.
I can't wait. Io Sky and Asuka, I believe, is going to steal the show tonight at Backlash. Also tonight at Backlash, The Miz and Kit Wilson take on Danhausen and whoever his mystery partner is going to be. Let's head back to Kathy Kelly with a special guest.
I am here with The Miz and Kit Wilson, and tonight you guys have the opportunity to get revenge on Danhausen. Now that we are a couple hours away from your match, do you have any idea who his mystery partner will be, or if the cloning machine will work?
You know, you can truly find out a lot about a person by staring into the mirror. And hello, I'm not toxic. But wake up, Kathy! It's people like Danhausen who need to look into the mirror and realize how toxic they're being in the first place for coming to Backlash with a mystery partner.
I don't care who the mystery partner is. I don't care who he clones. I don't care if it's Krusty the Clown, Bozo the Clown, or any of his paint-loving freaks. I am sick of people saying that I am cursed. Hello? I am not cursed. Buy it on WWEshop.com. And I'm also sick of people using the excuse of the curse. A referee cost us the tag team titles. Why? Because he got a cramp in his arm and he called it a curse? We got blown up by the Pyro team. The Pyro team. And they called it a curse. Danhausen stole my daughter's bike. That is not a curse. That is a crook. And tonight, we will rid the WWE of the Danhausen problem. And that is awesome!
Sounds like two guys who are cursed.
You know, Corey, this all started when Danhausen wanted Miz to be his mentor, and Miz said no way. Maybe it backfired on the Miz.
I think it might have been. I mean, Danhausen has been everywhere. I turned on SportsCenter the other day, and he was doing the top plays.
Which was actually hysterical.
Danhausen has become something of a pop culture phenomenon in relatively short order. And we know that The Miz would love nothing more than to strap his own brand to the rocket ship that is Danhausen. And what?
No, I'm just waiting for Cole to thank Danhausen on the air for what's going on with your New York Knicks right now.
Yeah, exactly. The New York Knicks have been unbelievable, and Danhausen lifted the curse, right?
Ever since Danhausen unlifted the curse on the Knicks, they have not lost in the playoffs.
Look, I know we're going to spend a lot of time rightfully talking about the phenomenon that is Danhausen, but I also want to give a lot of love to Kit Wilson, someone who lost his tag team partner in Elton, and a lot of love to him, dealing with a neck injury right now. But having to retool and kind of refigure out who he is and what he's doing, he is someone I think who has really maximized his minutes as well. And like, look, he is a force. That elbow drop from the top is a thing of beauty.
By the way,
he is someone that can go as well. So let's not sleep on what Kit Wilson is doing.
Yeah, but who's Danhausen's partner going to be?
That's the question. Someone who enjoys human money. But I don't know what that means.
Kurgan.
Well, you know, there is one person in this world as eccentric as Danhausen is. Byron Saxton.
Oh, he's creepier.
Thank you guys, I think. I'm currently standing by with Danhausen. Yes. Dan, last night on Friday Night SmackDown, we saw you engaged in some sort of experiment.
Oh, yes, I am a bit of a science whiz, if you will.
How's that going?
I think it's going pretty good. You know, I just got cooking up some experiments, trying to make my tag team partner, and, you know, I think it's doing pretty good.
Speaking of partner, can you possibly specify on who that is?
Nope.
Just a little hint?
Oh, a hint. Yeah. Let me give you a hint. If you ask me that question again, you are cursed.
Hey, say less.
Oh, good. Yes, I would love to say that.
Good luck tonight, Dan.
Corey,
People call him Dan?
The greatest joy of my life today would be if Danhausen actually cursed Byron Saxton.
You and me both. Call it a day after that. Doesn't get any better.
But again, Big E, who does Danhausen choose?
Look, Danhausen is everywhere these days. I feel like his Rolodex of people he can pull from, whether it's people in the NBA, whether it's from the sporting world or not, I have no idea. You said Kurgan? Is that your serious
Kurgan was the, I
the
a
oddities.
deep cut there.
The oddities.
It really did.
But listen, here's the problem, though, for Danhausen. Miz and Kit Wilson are not happy. They have been embarrassed. They have been humiliated. Miz is a multi-time world champion. Kit Wilson is finding his footing here in WWE. This is a big match for them to finally rid themselves of the embarrassment known as Danhausen.
That may be true, Cole, but I got to be honest. I think anybody who ends up anywhere near Danhausen right now, even if you're against him, is a win. Everything the guy does, as you just talked about, Graves, is absolutely on fire. And for Miz and Kit Wilson, who are both really trying to get themselves back in any sort of title picture, you want to be next to guys who have motion, who people are talking about. That is Danhausen.
And not only just being beside people that have motion, people who can propel your career to that next level, which is exactly what Kit needs, exactly what Miz wants. And if they are the ones that take Danhausen out of WWE, can you imagine? We will never hear the end of it.
Or just Dan, if you're Byron Saxton.
Yeah.
Just Dan. But I also think with Danhausen, man, it really is a testament in patience. And you only have to be patient for a week. But I remember a lot of people out here panning Danhausen. Oh, that was weird, that debut. The next week, people were behind him. We were talking about the entrances here today as we started the show. I think Danhausen had the best reaction of anyone on the card.
I can't disagree with you, but as you were explaining that, I couldn't help but think something about you feels a little toxic, Big E. I can't quite put my finger on it. I'll ask Kit and see what he has to say.
How dare you? How dare you?
Should we ask Tampa? Tampa, is Big E toxic?
These are my people.
It is a toxic town. The whole town.
Is Corey
toxic.
Graves toxic? Now we know Peter Rosenberg's toxic.
Go home, Peter.
Hey, let's not forget, too, this whole curse thing with Danhausen. He cursed Stephen A. Smith of ESPN. The match is still to come tonight as part of Backlash. Danhausen and whoever his mystery partner is will take on The Miz and Kit Wilson tonight, all part of WWE Backlash. Gets underway at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. A reminder, the first hour is on ESPN.
Frankenberry is available.
Still to come tonight on the Backlash Show, more discussion on the World Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns, taking on his cousin, Jacob Fatu, here tonight. Also coming up tonight, the second part of my interview.
He's got Paul Heyman. At the end of the day, he's only looking out for himself. Paul will cut you loose in a second. That's a bad spot for the kid to be in when he's not ready to do this on his own.
I sit down with Seth Rollins. Hey, folks, head over to ESPN2. That's where we're going now at the Countdown to Backlash show.
Then, now, together.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the vibrant Gulf Coast city known as Tampa, Florida. It's summertime here. Just look at us on the panel tonight. Brilliant sunshine, temperature near 90 degrees. The epicenter of the WWE Universe tonight is the Benchmark International Arena, home to the NHL's Tampa Bay Lightning, and tonight, home to the premium live event known as Backlash. Over 13,000 expected tonight, a sold-out venue as we welcome you to the Countdown to Backlash show presented by Cricket 5G. The OTC, the World Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns is here tonight and roils in this family civil war. He defends against his cousin, Jacob Fatu. The United States Champion, Trick Williams, here as well with his buddy, Little Yachty. It's a WrestleMania rematch against the former United States Champion, Sami Zayn. WWE's Chief Content Officer, Paul Triple H Levesque, is here. He presides over the first premium live event since WrestleMania. How about the genius of the sky, Io Sky? Looks to put roller coaster of emotions aside as she takes on the Empress of Tomorrow, her former mentor, Asuka, tonight. Very nice, very evil. Danhausen has arrived. Who is his mystery partner going to be when he takes on The Miz and Kit Wilson here tonight? And the aforementioned Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, says he needs the title as he takes on the World Heavyweight Champion Roman Reigns, all part of Backlash.
On this part-time crap, we're gonna fix that. Y'all better make some room, because y'all gonna see my ass all summer.
I don't want that title. I need that title.
You don't deserve it. You haven't earned it. Me allowing you to compete against me, I can't do that.
Oh no, Braun Breaker.
You are the reason that I didn't get my hand raised at WrestleMania this year.
The showdown is set.
I'll see you at Backlash.
Io Sky versus
Trick Williams, rocking these lemon pepper steppers.
I cannot wait for this.
Sooner or later, it's going to be an explosion.
It's time to grit your teeth and get ready for impact.
Welcome to WWE Backlash. And the countdown to Backlash is presented by Cricket 5G. We're at the Benchmark International Arena in Tampa, Florida. We are an hour away from Backlash. Welcome to Countdown to Backlash, live on ESPN2. And a programming note, the first hour of Backlash at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific will be live on ESPN2 in the States, of course, Netflix internationally. Hello again, everybody. I'm Michael Cole, joined by my esteemed panel. Former Mr. Money in the Bank, WWE Champion, Big E is here.
Boy, does it feel good to be back in the city that birthed me, the city that raised me. 813, make some noise!
Also, former FCW alum, former NXT Tag Team Champion, my partner in crime on Monday Night Raw's Monday Night on Netflix, none other than Corey Graves.
I am as excited as anybody to watch the OTC defend his World Heavyweight Championship for the very first time since winning it at WrestleMania. But Roman Reigns, I caution you, beware. Tonight in Tampa, there is a werewolf on the loose. Let me hear you, Tampa. Give me that fa.
Also joining us on the panel, the host of the Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg show on ESPN, Peter Rosenberg.
Happy to be here. Thank you so much, Tampa. I love you as well. Now, you brought up Roman Reigns, and it's a huge night for Roman, but that Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu, has been dreaming about this moment his whole life. And Cole, as he said it, He doesn't want that title. He quite seriously needs that title.
Yeah, let's take a look at what's going to happen on Backlash. Remember, the first hour is on ESPN2, highlighted by Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker kicking it off, and also Sammy and Trick Williams for the United States Championship. Then over on the ESPN app with the Unlimited plan, you'll get to see Io and Asuka, Danhausen and a mystery partner against Miz and Kit, Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu in our main event, and of course, John Cena. He claims this would be a history-making announcement live from Backlash tonight. We've got reporters everywhere around Tampa, Florida, including Kathy Kelly. Hey, Kathy.
Hey, Cole. Now, I can confirm that Roman Reigns is in the building. He went straight into his private locker room behind me to focus on his match tonight against Jacob Fatu. And for the World Heavyweight Champion, this isn't just about that title. This is about his family. This is about protecting his legacy. This is about protecting the entire bloodline. So tonight, Roman Reigns plans to show that there are levels to this game, both inside and outside of the ring. Byron?
Kathy, tonight Jacob Fatu is marching to the paraphrased lyrics of that old Eminem song, Lose Yourself. The one that says if you had one shot, one opportunity, if you could seize it and not let it slip away, well, in Jacob Fatu's mind, that's what this is all about. This is that opportunity. He can't let it slip away. It's Game 7. It's sudden death. And as crazy as this may sound for Jacob Fatu, he truly believes if he doesn't beat Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight title tonight, then his career is a loss. Let's sing to Jackie Redmond.
Byron, thank you so much. Well, when it comes to Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, Seth told me this morning tonight isn't just about showing Braun Breaker that he's not ready to take his career to the next level. It's also about Seth proving to himself that at 39 years old and coming off another serious injury, that he still has what it takes to compete at the very top of WWE, that he is still the architect, the visionary, that he is, for lack of a better phrase, still best for business in WWE. He also added that while experience doesn't always matter in these situations, tonight it does, because there is absolutely nothing that Braun Breaker can throw at Seth Rollins that Seth hasn't already seen before. And that is one of many reasons that, according to Seth, Braun Breaker is in over his head, Cole.
Thanks a lot, Jackie. You know, Byron should lose himself. Nonetheless.
Come on, Cole. He was spitting bars, Cole.
Nonetheless, Big E, let's talk about Seth Rollins. How important is this for Seth tonight? It's only his second match in about 7 months.
This is critically important for Seth Rollins. Like you said, we've seen him out for quite some time. We've not seen him on our screens until quite recently. But what concerns me is in his interview with you, he's already kind of talking about the end. He's talking about 40 approaching, and I start to worry when someone is almost taking this career retrospective, taking the time to talk about the fact that they think they have less time ahead of them than they have behind them. I worry that Seth Rollins is already kind of thinking about the end, and you cannot do that with a force like Braun Breaker.
Well, in the interview Michael Cole did with Seth Rollins, Seth used a very particular word that stood out to me, and that was admitting that he formed the vision because of insecurity. Seth Rollins felt insecure before the vision came to be. Now he finds himself in the crosshairs of the biggest gun the vision had, Braun Breaker, a man who has been earmarked by just about everybody as the future of this business. It seems to me like reality is starting to seep into Seth freaking Rollins. I would never bet against Seth. I would never count him out against in a fight. But this is a situation where I think Seth is finally realizing he's not the young gun anymore. He's not the young lion.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. We're just a few weeks removed from Seth Rollins stealing the show at WrestleMania, a man who would have beaten Gunther had it not been for Braun Breaker. So Seth is still at the top of his game.
You know, I had this interview with Seth Rollins, and he made a very interesting parallel in the careers of both himself and Braun Breaker. Here's the second part of that interview.
It's funny because about a decade earlier, you were sort of on the same plane as Braun Breaker was. Yep. When you broke up one of the most successful groups in history, The Shield. So I guess you do understand a bit of what was going through Breaker's mind.
Yeah, I absolutely get it. You look at something and you see an opportunity to kind of write your own checks and to take yourself to the very top. And that's what this business is built on. And I'm not gonna make any apologies. I've said a million times why I broke up The Shield, what I think it did for the trajectory of our industry. And I think over the last decade, time has proven that even though that was a ruthless move, you look at where everybody's at now, I think we did all right.
Perhaps a decade later, Braun Breaker may be in the same position. So let's fast
You're right.
forward now
You're
to
right.
WrestleMania. You and Gunther, in my eyes, and I said it on the air, had a match that probably stole the entire weekend, only to have it interrupted by Breaker.
Yeah.
So once again, he denies you an opportunity to have that show-stealing spotlight at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, that one's straight out of my playbook, you know. I didn't like the outcome, but I understood the approach. I just think the kid doesn't understand what he's getting himself into yet. And I told him again a couple weeks on Raw, like, you have to make these things count. When you make these decisions, you have to make them count. You brought up the Shield earlier. When I turned on the Shield, I made it count. When I cashed in my Money in the Bank contract at WrestleMania later that year, made it count. When I did the Ruse of the Century against CM Punk, I made it count. So he's got to make it count. The thing is, I just don't know that he's ready. When I made the switch, I had incredible minds around me, Randy Orton, Kane, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon. I had a ton of people around me to put me in a position mentally where I could take the next step. He's got Paul Heyman. And the difference between that group that I just mentioned and Paul Heyman is that no matter what Paul sells you, at the end of the day, he's only looking out for himself. And if he thinks that Braun Breaker, in the back of his mind, isn't going to get him where he wants to be, isn't going to be his meal ticket, Paul will cut you loose in a second. And I just think that's a bad spot for the kid to be in when he's not ready to do this on his own.
What does a win for Seth Rollins over Breaker at Backlash do for you?
I think a win over Breaker at Backlash gives me the confidence that Breaker took away from me at WrestleMania. And if I can beat him, it'll give me that clarity that I need to move forward to try to get back the title that I never lost.
You have felt a spear at least a half a dozen times over the past month and a half. You'd mentioned, I don't know how much more time you have left doing this at this elite level.
Yeah.
What does a loss mean to Seth Rollins at Backlash?
You know, I hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't even thought about the loss, I think. I think one thing that I've discovered about myself, when I tried to insulate myself and protect myself and, in a sense, rest on my laurels, that's when I'm the worst version of Seth Rollins. I think when I have something to overcome, when I have my back against the wall, a chip on my shoulder, that's when I'm the best version of myself. And so a loss might be a setback, but it could also be the kick in the ass I need to be the person and to be the performer that I need to be to get back to where I want to be.
Well, Seth Rollins showing a lot of self-awareness in that sit-down interview with Michael Cole. He takes on Braun Breaker tonight. It's a match you can see live on ESPN2. Is Braun Breaker ready to take his career to the next level? We'll find out tonight. Still to come on the countdown to Backlash, Trick Williams sits down in an exclusive interview with Joe Tessitore ahead of his match against Sami Zayn. Plus, we will count down Roman Reigns' top 10 title defenses. He's had quite a reign in the past. That should be fun. Well, sometimes this business gives us perspective because in life there are fights bigger than wrestling. Coming up, Charlotte Flair and a young fan show courage that will inspire us all.
They're not giving up, but I do know that Scarlett's plan is bigger than we understand right now. And even in the short time that I have known them, she has changed my life and my perspective.
Welcome back to Tampa, Florida. We'll all be compelled by the incredible action here to come at Backlash. The spectacle, the athleticism, the surprises, and stories. But sometimes the greatest moments happen outside of the ring. Sometimes that's where we find an even greater magic and a deeper meaning. That's what superstar Charlotte Flair has found in the bond she's made with one young fan and one special family. It's a bond that reaches far beyond any event. Here's Joe Tessitore.
One more try. If I fall again, I won't do it.
She just lights up the room no matter where you meet her. First time you meet her, you're gonna leave with a memory with her in your heart for sure.
Scarlett is very outgoing. We put her in softball at 4 and she thrived in it. She loved it. She loved making new friends.
If only life stayed that simple. When Scarlett Guillen was 5 years old, a doctor's visit and a CT scan would change everything for her family.
They showed me the scan and they're like, we found a mass in your daughter's brain. And it completely dropped. So then afterwards, I went out and I called Isaiah in, and I think our life changed after that. I never knew it would, but it completely did.
The tumor was DMG, which is a rare form of brain cancer. There's no cure for it.
No cure, but no quit. And Scarlett found an ally in her fight that she never expected in her favorite WWE superstar.
Hi. Hi. Oh, I like your braids. Thank you. And your necklace.
She's not scared to meet Charlotte. She's like, hey, just no fear.
You copied my name.
You copied?
Yes, I did copy. I did. Is that okay? Yeah.
There was this one little girl that all she wanted to do was meet me, and it just stuck with me.
I say bye.
For Charlotte and Scarlett, a bond was born. They followed each other,
It's gonna make me feel even stronger.
texted each other, even dressed up like each other. The connection stretched even farther, from athletic events to frequent visits.
She comes over. My whole family knows her now. She came to Scarlett's first communion. She came to the after party. She was hitting the piñata. She's told me plenty of times, you're stuck forever with me. To hear that coming from her, it means the world to us.
We're just very grateful to have her in our lives. She's like a rock star. I don't say this enough to her, but I love her so much.
Scarlett is 7 now. In the 2.5 years that have passed since her diagnosis, she's fought, suffered, endured against a prognosis that remains terminal.
She doesn't get to see how good life gets to be. She doesn't get a chance. It's not fair.
She does understand certain things are happening to her body. I don't want to scare her. I don't want her to feel any different. Me and Isaiah have always said, we don't want to cry now. We have later to cry. My main thing is I always wanted her to be a kid.
She doesn't have as much energy, but she's still able to enjoy it. She's still able to love the moment, love what she's doing, love where she's at, love who she's with. Just to be around her favorite environment at WWE was just everything to her.
Charlotte Flair!
I've been in 8 title matches for WrestleMania.
Here comes Charlotte Flair, the queen.
Oh! Charlotte is absolutely brilliant.
But the weekend was just as exciting because I knew I was going to get to hold her after.
After a match watched by millions, a moment just for Charlotte and Scarlett.
She was able to pick her up and take her through the crowd. She was able to embrace Scarlett in a way that she's always wanted to embrace her. Just show her, like, you're with me, we're together.
It was amazing. It's heartwarming having those moments that I will always cherish, and knowing that Scarlett felt like one of them. Scarlett felt like a wrestler, like a superstar.
They're not giving up, but I do know that Scarlett's plan is bigger than we understand right now. And even in the short time that I have known them, she has changed my life and my perspective. The magic I'm getting back is knowing that if someone wants my time, I'm giving it to them.
We'd like to thank Scarlett and the Guillen family for sharing her story and their desire to raise awareness for all children fighting pediatric cancer. The bond between Scarlett and Charlotte is as strong as ever. In fact, just last weekend, after competing at SmackDown in Tulsa, Charlotte flew to California to spend time with Scarlett, her sister Elena, and the entire Guillen family. The countdown to Backlash here in Tampa, Florida continues after this. SummerSlam is coming to US Bank Stadium in Minnesota August 1st and 2nd. 2-day combo tickets are on sale now via Ticketmaster. And we are officially 30 minutes away from kicking off Backlash here in Tampa, Florida, and we have moved the show inside Benchmark International Arena. Jackie Redmond tagging in for Michael Cole alongside Corey Graves and Big E, and we have a heck of a main event tonight.
I think that might be
OTC.
the understatement of the day.
Understatement. Oh, coming at me already, but you're right. It is. It deserves all of the flowers. It is a big one. Jacob Fatu taking on the tall task of one Roman Reigns here tonight. This will happen in the first hour of the main event tonight.
World Heavyweight Championship on the line. The OTC goes one-on-one with his own flesh and blood. We've seen Roman defend his championship numerous times over the years, over a series of reigns, but tonight may be Roman's biggest test yet.
He's never had to deal with the tongue and death grip. He's never had to deal with this laser-focused Jacob Fatu. It's family, but Jacob is also fighting for that seat at the head of the table. He wants what Roman has. We'll see if he can get that here tonight.
Well, as Corey mentioned, Roman Reigns has defended a title many a time in WWE, so let's count down the top 10.
L.A. Knight, the megastar who seemed destined to be the one to dethrone the Tribal Chief, ultimately came up short, courtesy of the head of the table, a story that we have seen over and over again over the last decade.
Look, my childhood hero, Goldberg, thought he could get it done at Elimination Chamber, but the Tribal Chief had to sink in that guillotine, and that was all she wrote.
You see Kevin Owens, one of Roman's greatest rivals. This was at Royal Rumble back in 2021. I believe I had the honor of calling it, and a controversial ending, but the result remained the same and still.
I hate seeing a Canadian down like that.
And then we have the Scottish Psychopath. What a moment for Drew at Clash at the Castle. I thought he was going to get it done back across the pond, but once again, man, that spear is something serious.
Roman Reigns is a survivor, if nothing else. The head of the table, the OTC. And on this evening in Saudi Arabia, Roman Reigns found himself a social media megastar, courtesy of the opposition, Logan Paul. But another W for the Tribal Chief.
And look, these battles between the greatest of all time, John Cena and Roman Reigns, they are so iconic. We thought a returning John Cena could get it done. Roman said, nah.
No.
We know tonight Sami Zayn will challenge for the United States Championship. Here we were in Montreal, Sami's home city, as the honorary Uso pushed
He wasn't
the Tribal
feeling
Chief,
Uso
but
that night.
wasn't quite able to get the job done.
Man, and this is the moment that I think cemented Jey Uso as a future superstar. What a performance for him, but it was not enough at Hell in a Cell. Once again, we see the lay over Roman Reigns' neck because he's indeed the victor.
Honored by the elders, and this was one of the biggest WrestleMania main events of all time at the time. Still remains that way, a classic. But the American Nightmare wanted to finish his story. The arrival of Solo Sikoa said, that ain't happening tonight.
And at number 1.
Oh, SummerSlam in Nashville. This has got to be one of the most insane matches ever. Brock bringing out the heavy machinery.
Brock Lesnar nearly flipped the entire ring on its side. Roman
a visual
Reigns,
that will live forever.
I ended up in Kid Rock's lap, believe it or not, to dive out of harm's way. Kid Rock was in the front row. I was either getting smashed by the ring or sitting on the Bull God's lap. So
I don't know if Corey Graves in the lap of Kid Rock is a visual I needed today, but we got it.
Hey, enjoy it. You're welcome.
Well, listen, a look at the career accolades of one Roman Reigns, who continues to build that resume, but 1,316 days as WWE Universal Champion, the 4th longest world title reign in WWE history, featured 31 title defenses, 21 different opponents. Roman Reigns, for anyone, is a tough act to follow. How does Roman Reigns follow up his own act?
See, at this point, Roman Reigns is playing with house money. Roman Reigns has established himself. He has solidified himself. Roman Reigns has dominated and ruled over WWE with an iron fist. No one on this planet who watches what we do does not know Roman Reigns, does not know how to acknowledge the Tribal Chief. It's that big. With that said, I think Roman might be a little bit too overconfident. And I only say that because what we've seen of Jacob Fatu, what we know of Jacob Fatu, is this is a man possessed, obsessed, willing to go to the ends of the earth to give his family, his household, a better life. Roman Reigns understood that assignment, accomplished it, and has done great things since. Jacob Fatu still has the hunger. There is a Samoan werewolf on the loose tonight in Tampa, and the tribal chief could be in trouble.
I think it was Marvelous Marvin Hagler who said that it is very difficult to prepare to do everything you need to when you're sleeping in satin sheets, when you're that comfortable, and that has been the life that Roman Reigns has had. He has had a very cushy and comfortable life that he has built, but Jacob is hungry. He wants everything that Roman has. We'll see if he gets that here tonight.
And what an opportunity for Jacob Fatu. I mean, he wins tonight. That is a heck of a statement. And I have a heck of a nugget for you. I think probably could be the stat of the day. If Roman were to surpass his last reign, he would need to be champion until November of 2029. Like, my brain can't even comprehend 2029.
Yeah, that's...
You know what I mean?
That's a long way off.
Oh, it's like a whole high school career away. College career, however you want to frame it, right? It's a long time.
It is.
But if anyone could do it for a second time, it's probably Roman Reigns. All right, as we continue to look ahead to Backlash tonight, Trick Williams is in the house. He arrives in Liati, dressed in all white. I like the look from them. And his match tonight is one you can catch live on ESPN2 as he takes on Sami Zayn. But before we get to that, he had an exclusive sit-down interview with Joe Tessitore. Take a look.
Trick, you just competed in your first WrestleMania, but you also just walked away from your first WrestleMania with gold. How did you manage all the pressure of that?
Man, I'm built for it. I tell everybody I am the anointed one, and I say that for a reason. Because it's what you're born to do. You wake up and that's who you are. You have no choice but to be that, and that's why I'm the champ.
Long before you were a WWE superstar, you were a football player. Youth football, high school football superstar, SEC football at South Carolina. What did you get from football? What did you learn that benefits you now in WWE?
See, the truth is, Joe, you have to understand, as glorious as that resume looks, that's not what it was during the process. I walked on to the University of South Carolina. That means I wasn't invited to the team. That means I had to take a leap of faith, I had to train, I had to bust my butt, and I had to try out for the team. 200 people tried out for the team. Cut it down from 200 to 20, 20 to 8. And Trick Williams was one of that 8. Not only was I one of that 8, I was one of the ones who won Outstanding Offensive Walk-On of the Year.
Trick for the first down, another big grab. They needed someone to step up, and Trick stepped up for South Carolina here.
I left my first college, Hampton University. And the coaches there, they told me, if you're not playing here at Hampton University, how are you going to play at the University of South Carolina? Number 4 team in the nation at that time. But they didn't know what I had inside of me. And ever since then, I just walk differently now. My mom told me at my lowest point, she said, you are a king created by God Almighty. Never forget who you are or whose you are that can't break you. And I lived that, I walked that every single day. It was being a walk-on that made me the superstar that I am today, because I don't need anybody's approval. But it don't matter. Trick Williams is Trick Williams. Let's talk about it.
Lil Yachty's been by your side with great success over the course of recent weeks. He said he's here to stay.
That's right.
What's it been like having Lil Yachty with you, and how has he helped you grow?
Man, that's my dog, man. We was just in the studio last night, 2 o'clock in the morning, putting down some tracks. But Yachty, man, he's a guy who loves the business. This isn't promo. This is what he loves to do. So he said, Triple H, who is the best guy on the roster? Who is the guy who you see as being the future of the business? He said, I know just the guy, the right guy for you, Trick Williams. And we've been rocking ever since.
Sami Zayn was beloved by WWE fans for a long, long time, but man, so much of that energy has shifted towards supporting you. Why do you think it is? Why are these fans relating to you the way they have?
Honestly, Sami made my job easy. Hating is never a good look. He doesn't think Trick Williams belongs. Trick Williams doesn't know the accolades of his favorite wrestler from 1942. Trick Williams doesn't know that answer, but Trick Williams knows how to grind. I'm willing to put the work in. I just told you my testimony. I walked on. I wasn't invited. Sami Zayn didn't invite me neither.
The gingerbread man took on a life of its own.
Look, man, it's just about getting underneath Sami's skin.
Gingerbread Man, that's just another little thing I threw at him. It stuck. People like it. Cool. I gotta show you, I'm not just a rookie in this game. I'm very, very smart. I'm very calculated. Calculated enough to take a veteran like Sami Zayn and completely shift him off of his game. Temper tantrums. Doing everything he can just to follow up with Trick Williams.
Sami is determined to get this United States Championship back. What do you have to do to make sure that doesn't happen?
Trick Williams has to be Trick Williams. I beat Sami Zayn on the biggest stage of them all. My first time at WrestleMania, I showed him exactly who I was. I have no problem doing it again, and again, and again.
We are now inside 20 minutes to Backlash here in Tampa, Florida, as fans continue to file into Benchmark International Arena. Trick Williams taking on Sami Zayn in a match you can see on ESPN2. Biggie, let me ask you this. Trick is somebody that showed up, walked on, so to speak, fit in immediately, was comfortable immediately, and was successful pretty quickly. Why?
He's a sponge. I remember going down to Orlando to the Performance Center before Trick came up. And he is someone, anytime I was down there, he would always latch on to me. Hey, man, do you have any notes for me? Can you watch my match? He is someone who was always trying to get better. So you see the confidence, but under that, it's earned. He's put the work in. And sure, he doesn't have the time in front of main roster audiences like Sami Zayn, but he is someone who has been grinding for quite some time. He's putting the work in. And I think Trick Williams, we see this meteoric star. It's not overnight. He's been putting the work in to show people that he is not just a one and done. He's not just someone who got one on Sami real quick and Sami's gonna get it back. I think he's gonna prove here tonight that the United States Championship is kind of the beginning of what's to come for Trick Williams. I think World Championships, I think that's where his eyes are set. But if he wants to get there, he has to beat Sami here tonight.
I agree with you, and champions are built when nobody else is looking. That's the case with Trick Williams. Trick does put in the work, but if Trick makes the mistake of thinking he can approach tonight's match like he approached the match at WrestleMania against somebody like Sami Zayn, who will show you a different look without a doubt, Trick could be disappointed very badly tonight in Tampa.
Yeah, a lot of experience in Sami Zayn as an opponent for Trick Williams. Again, it's Trick Williams versus Sami Zayn. You can see that match live on ESPN2. As for us, we're going to step aside for a quick break here on the countdown to Backlash in Tampa, Florida. But still to come, we will dive deeper into this match between Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker. Seth sees the potential in Bron, but he says he ain't ready. We'll find out tonight.
We are counting down the minutes toward our massive World Heavyweight Championship main event. It's a family civil war. Roman Reigns defends against Jacob Fatu tonight.
With Club WWE, you'll be part of something bigger. A global network of passionate fans that we want to reward for dedication and loyalty. With Club WWE, you'll experience live shows like never before. Members get an exclusive 24-hour pre-sale window, dedicated entrances, members-only lounges, band parties, events, and ways to earn reward points on site. Only with Club WWE.
It's a beautiful day here in downtown Tampa as we continue to count down to Backlash. 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Celsius for my international folks. And we are now 13 minutes away from kicking things off here inside Benchmark International Arena. In the main event, we've got Roman Reigns taking on Jacob Fatu, a huge opportunity for him. And as we know, a lot of history here, a lot of family ties.
The bloodline family tree is a forest in and of itself. It's impossible to trace all the way back to the top with any degree of accuracy. So forgive us if we make mistakes. I promise you we will. This is what it's all about, though. The head of the table, the anointment of the tribal chief by Alpha and Sika. Roman Reigns truly is the head of the table.
But this family has just contributed so much to our industry for decades. And look, it's confusing for us. We've known so many of these men for a long time. And we even struggle with understanding all the connections with the family.
Well, here you see the legendary Haku, who taught the Tongan death grip to Jacob Fatu. Will that make the difference tonight? Only time will tell. But we know Tonga Kid, Umaga, a strong bloodline on the side of the challenger as well as the champion tonight.
The tribal chief is back at the head of the table.
I miss this. I'm not asking you to serve me. I'm just asking you to be my blood and stand with me. There can only be a couple reasons you would come out here. To acknowledge me.
Nah, that ain't it. Before WWE, you didn't call me, Jimmy didn't call me, Jay didn't call me. So when y'all was up here running the bloodline, I was broke, grinding. I need that title.
Maybe you can beat me, Jacob, but I'm not sure you're ready. Little cousin, you don't deserve it. You haven't earned it. Allowing you to compete against me, that's nepotism. I can't do it.
The target death grip. It's gonna take everything from you. He's dangerous, Oops. Even if I gotta run through my own blood, I am desperate. So I have no other choice but to take you out, take this title, and everything that the tribal chief has.
The Tongan death grip. You don't do that to family. You don't do that to your tribal chief. In our family, we're equals. We're of the same blood. But in this ring, Jacob, you're beneath me.
I'll do anything for my family.
The tribal chief is fading.
If I gotta go through you, I need that title.
So much of this week and so much of our countdown show has been spent, guys, talking about Jacob Fatu and what this match means to him. But we'd be remiss to not talk about what it means to the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns' incredible career, in many ways, is defined by that over 1,300-day title reign. But never forget, that title reign is also a part of the Bloodline story. Since WrestleMania, this has been the beginning of a new era for Roman Reigns, a new opportunity for him to continue to tell that story. And if he were to lose his first title defense to a family member, think about how much that could affect his legacy forever. There is a lot on the line for Roman Reigns tonight. Back to you guys.
Well, you're certainly right about that, Peter. I'll ask you guys this. If Roman loses tonight and Jacob Fatu wins, how does that change the landscape of WWE? Does it?
It turns it completely upside down. For years now, we have all known that Roman Reigns was the guy. As we listen to Michael Cole make his entrance here, we know Roman drives the ship. Roman leads WWE, he leads the locker room, he leads the company, he leads a lot of corporate decisions. Roman is the guy. Not that Jacob Fatu doesn't have the potential to be that guy, but let's say it happens tonight. All the trucks all of a sudden get redecorated. Everything on the signage, the billboards, the promotional materials that have gone out to all these cities, they all change. And now, rather than the tribal chief, you've got the face of the Samoan werewolf on the front of things. That could truly change everything top to bottom.
Absolutely, and Roman has also been the one who has sat at the very top of this pyramid of the Fatus, of the Anawais, who have come in to WWE and have done incredible things here. Now, I feel like if Roman loses here tonight, we might as well put Jacob Fatu in that position of calling the shots, of deciding who comes up as well. It really, like I said,
is he the new head of the table?
He has the keys now. He absolutely is. He has the keys to the
So he
kingdom now.
automatically becomes the head of the table, the new tribal chief.
The repercussions will supersede WWE. It will be familial. It will be on a grand scale.
Crazy to think about. That is our main event, Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu. Elsewhere, someone that knows Roman Reigns pretty well, Seth Rollins, also in action tonight, taking on Braun Breaker. You can see this match live on ESPN2. It is a big one. Seth Rollins wanting to prove he can still be on top, and says Braun Breaker isn't ready. Let's check in with Kathy Kelly.
Well, guys, the WWE Universe continues to ask the same question. Is Braun Breaker truly ready? Is he ready to surpass his former mentor, Seth Rollins? Is he ready to cement himself at the top of the card? If you ask Paul Heyman, the answer is absolutely. I spoke with Heyman earlier today, and he described Breaker as an athlete of a different caliber. And we've seen him in the ring, but also how he rebounds from injury. And I think he knows tonight a victory over Seth Rollins would prove that he is ready for that main event scene. Byron?
Kathy, tonight Seth Rollins is adopting the characteristics of a fearless martyr. He understands how dangerous Braun Breaker is, but his mission, his modus operandi, is to destroy the protege that he created, even if it means destroying himself in the process. Back to you guys on the panel.
Byron, thank you so much. I'll just ask you guys simply this. Is Braun Breaker ready?
Yes, Braun Breaker's ready, and tonight the WWE Universe collectively sings Seth Rollins' swan song.
I don't think it's going to be that dire. But
I'm not ready for that.
No. We're not saying goodbye to Seth Rollins here tonight, but I think he is up against maybe his stiffest test, especially of the last
There's
several
no
years.
maybe about it, E. This dude's for real.
No, he's an athletic freak. If you've not seen Braun Breaker in the ring before, we have not seen anyone quite like him.
Being the real deal and being ready are two different things, though, no?
He's ready. The question is Seth freaking Rollins ready for something he helped create? We'll find out in a matter of moments.
We are going to find out in a matter of moments. Again, it is a match you can see live on ESPN2. We are ready to kick things off here in Tampa, Florida for Big E and Corey Graves. I'm Jackie Redmond. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy Backlash. We will see you for all the post-Backlash reaction on the other side. But for now, we take you inside Benchmark International Arena. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, here to perform the Star-Spangled Banner, please welcome retired U.S. Air Force Technical Sergeant Sonia Bryson Kirksey.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripe and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the
tonight. After the biggest weekend in WWE, what happens at WrestleMania doesn't stay there.
Sweet, sweet revenge.
It follows you. And in Tampa, it hits back.
Old scores are settled. It's personal. It's Backlash.